Alright everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Logic, and it's going to be a different type of video today. I'm going to talk about some blindness related stuff. Normally this is a Minecraft channel, but I want to try something a little different today. Left. So, if you guys don't know, I am a guide dog user, and I love my dog. He's kind of been my partner in crime. He's enabled me to have a completely different type of travel than I'm normally used to, and he's been a really good icebreaker in social situations. But if you're interested in getting a guide dog, I really want you to listen to what I have to say before you make that extremely huge and long-lasting commitment, because schools aren't going to tell you about this. They can only prepare you for so much. So here's what's up. I've been a guide dog user for about a decade now, and compared to some I know that's not a long time, but it's long enough to know the majority of the pros and cons of the partnership. And it's great. It's great if you go out a lot, you walk a lot, you are in a lot of social situations, you take public transit, you live in a walkable city, even a semi-walkable city. It's great. There are a lot of advantages. It's a bit more smoother style of travel than working with a cane, in my opinion. I'm not saying it's more effective, but it feels a bit smoother because dogs will just guide you around things. Not necessarily showing you to them unless you want to see them, but with canes you kind of have to physically locate everything, and that's not me knocking canes, because I did use canes for the majority of my life, but there's a lot of things that come with being a guide dog user that don't necessarily have to do with how awesome the travel is. And I want to tell you about them because there are certain people who can deal with these things, solve these things, tolerate these things, depending on where you're at in life, and there are some who can't. And for me, I think that this is my last dog. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my puppy. He has been great for me. He's given me the best years of his life with no complaints. He's always been happy to put his harness on. He's always been up to the challenge if I show him something new. It's been great. But there's a lot of things that come with this that have nothing to do with how happy the dog is or how happy the human is or how amazing the travel is. And the school is not going to tell you about this. So I'm going to tell you about this. So here is an uncomfortable truth as far as handlers go about working a dog. A lot of people are not going to want your dog around. There are people who like dogs, like the idea of dogs, like petting them, like meeting them, like interacting with them. It's completely different when we talk about having a dog in their home, at the dinner table, in their vehicle, around their children. It's completely different. There is a very obvious separation between people who like dogs and people who like having dogs around. And the reason that I say this is an uncomfortable truth is because no matter what you do, no matter how prompt you are with grooming and making their vet appointments and keeping them prim and proper and keeping them trained, there will always be people who don't want them around. Always, always, always. There will always be people who don't want the dogs around. And it makes it hard because if you want to go hang out with friends, if you want to go out to eat, if you just want to get a ride somewhere, you have to consider how the person you're with is going to react to the dog. And it's easy to say that, ouch. It's easy to say that, hey, if you can accept me, you should be able to accept my dog. But, oh, there's a car behind me. Oh, that's why he didn't see it. It was pulling up still when we crossed. Left. It's easy to say that if you can accept me, you should be able to accept my dog, but it's not necessarily fair. Because if you take your dog to someone's house, for example, say you have groomed them that morning or even had them professionally bathed that morning, they're going to leave hair behind. It is inevitable. Unless you have a breed that doesn't shed, which is pretty rare with guide dogs, they're going to leave hair behind. If you get in someone's car, they're going to leave hair behind. And not everybody is okay with that. You legit have to come across, right? You legit have to come across a true dog lover for them to not care. And this gets into the meat and potatoes of why this is my last dog. I love you, buddy. It's darn near impossible for me to go anywhere without some sort of fuss. And what sucks about it is I am a very meticulous handler. Extremely so. I groom my dog often. I keep up with his shots. I keep up with his training. I get him professionally done as often as possible or as much as he needs. And not everybody does that. Now, this is not me trying to take shots at the community or anything like that. But any group has people who don't necessarily do things the right way. And it's because of some people in this particular group of guide dog handlers who aren't doing things the right way that are the reason I am finished. And that might sound like a cop-out at face value. Well, you have to understand how more niche groups work. There's a very small population of the United States, which is where I'm at, so that's what I'm commenting on, that are blind. And there's an even smaller population of that who work dogs. And something that comes with that the schools aren't going to tell you is that the actions of your peers around you, the other handlers around you in your area, are going to impact the quality of life that you live, right? Right, good boy. They're going to impact the quality of life that you live. What do I mean by that? Well, I used to live in the city, and it's a pretty walkable city. Lots of buses, lots of nice, wide, maintained sidewalks and stuff like that. But because of work, I had to move out to the suburbs. And when I moved out to the suburbs, I ended up having to take Uber a lot more. Now let's go back to what I said a few minutes ago about people liking dogs versus people wanting dogs around. The majority of human beings are not going to want your animal in their vehicle. They're not going to want it, especially if their vehicle is their moneymaker. And a lot of people will say, well, the ADA protects me. They have to pick me up. That's cool and all. That's true and all. But that completely discounts the feelings and the reality of the person that is coming to pick you up, performing a service and trying to pay their bills and feed their families. I cannot tell you the amount of times I have gotten into an Uber without my dog, and I've had a driver say, oh, thank God you're not one of those dog handlers. Thank God you're not bringing that furry thing into my car. And the reason that they say things like that is not that they're trying to be mean, but what people who work dogs have to realize is that when I say the average human doesn't really want a dog in their car, it's because they don't want hair all over them. And when you put your guide dog into a vehicle and you don't do anything to mitigate hair, like fold a towel up in your bag or lay a sheet on the floor, or even just do something as small as to have a lint roller with you, once that driver drops you off, they have no choice but to turn their app off and go clean their vehicle. And what's happening when they turn their app off is that they're losing money. And if they can't afford to lose money and they just keep driving anyway, the next customer and the next customer and the next customer are going to rate them badly because of all of the hair in their vehicle. And I cannot tell you how many times I have been late for appointments, I've been late for work, I've had to cancel engagements because of things like this. And it's tough because I do what I'm supposed to do. The majority of handlers do what they're supposed to do. Left. So that's why I said at the beginning, this is not me taking shots at the community at large, because the majority of handlers do what they're supposed to do. But in any community, whether it be politics or religion or gaming or sports or anything like that, the people who shout the loudest tend to be the folk who aren't doing what they're supposed to do. And unfortunately, that is the precedent that the population goes off, because the majority of humans will never encounter a blind person. The majority of them won't. So when they do, you might just be the first ever blind person that they meet. And so if you don't do your due diligence, if you don't consider other people in their situations, if you don't whatever, they're going to remember that for the second time they meet a blind person. And folk pay for that. We pay for that. There are entire Reddit threads of Lyft drivers talking about the issues that they get from guide dog handlers. And, you know, this is my honest opinion. I don't speak for anybody else, no schools, no other handlers, no nothing, but this is my honest opinion. If everybody did what they were supposed to do, which isn't that hard in my opinion, we probably would not have entire Reddit threads talking about us. So, that being said, I love working with guide dogs. You know, it's a big commitment. It's a big life change. You have to take a lot of time off of whatever you're doing to train with the dog. And you have to consider everything you're doing when you work a dog. But it's an awesome experience. What I will not deal with, though, is paying for the actions of others. And it pains me to say that, because this is not necessarily something I want to give up. But those who are subscribed to the channel know, you know, I've started a family recently. I'm going through a lot when it comes to work and my social life and everything. I got places to be. I got things to do. And I can't continuously be left standing outside because of the actions of someone else. So before you decide to get a guide dog, just think about if you're willing to put up with that or not. Because it's a lot. And not a lot of handlers will talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it because if I didn't, I'd be doing the blind community a disservice. I want to make it clear that I'm not telling anyone, hey, don't get a guide dog because of my experiences. I'm putting this out here because if you decide to get a dog, you need to know all of the good and all of the bad that comes with it. And there's no way that anyone who is paid to train you is going to be able to tell you all of the bad. I'm not paid to do this, so I can say whatever I want. If you decide to get a guide dog, you're going to have to deal with a lot of your cohorts not doing what they're supposed to do. And it's going to ruin your time sometimes. Some people have the fortitude to deal with it. I dealt with it for a long time. I can't deal with it anymore. I can't do it because I'm at a point where I just want to live my life. I don't want to have to argue with people about what's right and what isn't, because it's hard for me to argue because I know what's going on out there. I know what's going on. I know what other people are doing. And so it's gotten to a point where if I'm going to take an Uber, I really have to stand in my living room and think, do I want to fight today? Do I want to risk being left behind today? How important is this appointment or engagement I'm going to where I can risk being late if someone doesn't want to take my dog? You know, I have to think about these things, and I'm just tired. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this talk. I'm going to try and do some more of these. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you next time.